The U.S. Defense Department expects that the 1st Battalion of Stryker vehicles outfitted with high-powered laser weapons will be deployed by sometime next year. U.S. Army Space and Missile Defense Command Chief Lieutenant General Dan Karbler told the audience at the Virtual Space Missile Defense Symposium, expect to have the 1st Battalion fielded in 2021 with 4 battalions by 2023. This is one of the several soon-to-come innovations in missile defense aimed at deterring adversaries like Russia, China, and Iran. It's clear now that the age of laser weapons is upon us, and this will have a profound impact on how future battles are fought. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes how U.S. Army plans to dominate the battlefield with laser-mounted Stryker. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by War Thunder. If you are, like us, fascinated by military vehicles and technology, I recommend you give War Thunder a try. It's a military vehicle combat game which you can download and play for free on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One with cross-platform support. It has a huge variety of more than 1,200 playable aircraft, tanks, helicopters, and ships from the 1930s to the 1990s, which you can take to battle on land, in the air, and at sea on more than 80 theaters of war. War Thunder's been kind enough to offer all Defense Updates viewers a special bonus, which will grant you a free premium tank, aircraft, or ship, and 3 days of premium account time for registering using our link in the description below. So take the plunge and join more than 20 million players from around the world. On the 28th of February, 2018, the Army announced that Stryker vehicles would be modified with sensors and weapons to fulfill an Interim Maneuver Short-Range Air Defense (MSHORAD) requirement. This is in response to a capability gap identified in Europe against Russian unmanned aerial vehicles (UAVs). With the previous focus on fighting in the Middle East, the U.S. Army had neglected SHORAD capabilities, and in future conflicts, it's feared they would not be able to rely on air dominance to counter enemy aircraft. In addition to deploying AN/TWQ-1 Avengers and fielding man-portable Stinger missiles, Strykers are to be upgraded to buy time to build a lasting mobile air defense solution. Because the unarmored Humvee-based Avenger lacks survivability and range to keep up with maneuver forces and hold off enemy aircraft in contested territory, 4 battalions totaling 144 Stryker SHORADs are planned, with the first battery of 12 systems fielded by 2020. The Stryker platform was chosen because it has better protection and in regards to size, weight, and power considerations, especially for the possibility of integrating a directed energy weapon in the future. The first unit to be equipped with them will be the 4th Battalion, 5th Air Defense Artillery Regiment. All 144 MSHORAD systems are planned to be delivered by 2022. The turret can mount 1 4-shot Stinger pod or 2 Hellfire missiles on either side. The system can act in a secondary anti-vehicle role, as the 30mm cannon is larger than the 25mm gun mounted on the M2 Bradley, and the Hellfire has a greater range than tow missiles typically used by ground vehicles. In October 1999, General Eric Shinseki, then U.S. Army Chief of Staff, outlined a transformation plan for the Army that would allow it to adapt to post-Cold War conditions. The plan, named Objective Force, would have the Army adopt a flexible doctrine that would allow it to deploy quickly and be equipped for a variety of operations. An early phase of the plan called for the introduction of a vehicle which was intended to fill the capability gap between heavier and heavily armed but not easily deployable vehicles such as the M2 Bradley, and easily deployable vehicles that are lightly armed and protected such as the Humvee. The ICV Infantry Carrier Vehicle Stryker is a family of 8-wheeled armored fighting vehicles. It's essentially a variant of the Canadian LAV-3. Stryker vehicles are produced by General Dynamics Land Systems for the United States Army. It has four-wheel drive, 8x4, and can be switched to all-wheel drive, 8x8. The vehicle is named for two unrelated U.S. soldiers who posthumously received the Medal of Honor: Private First Class Stuart S. Stryker, who died in World War II, and Specialist 4 Robert F. Stryker, who died in the Vietnam War. Strykers are being produced from 2002, and the U.S. Army has more than 4,500 of these. Throughout its years in service, the Stryker has undergone various survivability upgrades and received kit applications designed to improve the vehicle's ability to withstand attacks. But now Stryker's InSHORAD role would get a game-changing technology with the introduction of laser. As per Breaking Defense, defense contractors Northrop Grumman and Raytheon are currently competing to manufacture the new laser system, with plans for a shoot-off between the two prototypes at Fort Sill in Oklahoma in May 2021. The laser system will be integrated into the vehicle's existing hardware as soon as this December, and a platoon of 4 laser Strykers prototypes will end up in the hands of an actual combat unit sometime in 2022. The initial integration will be of a 5-kilowatt laser, which is being tested since early 2018. But the laser battalion will eventually deploy the new 50-kilowatt Directed Energy Maneuver Short-Range Air Defense (DEM) SHORAD system, which has 10 times the power. This is expected to be available by 2022. According to Lieutenant General L. Near Thurgood, Director of Hypersonics, Directed Energy, Space and Rapid Acquisition in the Office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army, the service is also working to field a 300-kilowatt indirect fires protection capability, high-energy laser, IFPC-HEL, truck-mounted laser by 2024. In May, defense contractor Dynetics announced it was currently working to boost the power of the 100-kilowatt high-energy laser tactical vehicle demonstrator to roughly 300 kilowatts. The 50-kilowatt Stryker will be deployed primarily to neutralize unmanned aerial systems and incoming artillery rockets, while the 300-kilowatt version IFPC-HEL system could potentially be used to counter incoming cruise missiles. Lasers are concentrated beams of light that transmits large amount of electromagnetic radiation against their targets. The power of a laser is generally stated in kilowatts. The general idea of laser beam weaponry is to hit a target with a train of brief pulses of light. The rapid evaporation and expansion of the surface cause shock waves that damage the target. Lasers have some very important advantages. The speed of light enables them to hit their targets almost instantaneously. Laser weapons also don't need to carry ammunition like traditional systems, and hence they'll be able to take out a much larger number of threats, constrained only by the power supply limit of the platform. This is pretty significant, as traditional air defense systems can run out of ammunition when encountering a large number of incoming threats. Lasers are silent and invisible, which makes them very much suitable for use in the urban landscape. They're also much cheaper. The new system could cost as low as $3.50 per interception. This is very cost-effective compared to conventional weapons. For example, the Iron Dome cost $49,000 per interception. An FIM-92 Stinger short-range shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile has a price of $38,000, and a Patriot surface-to-air missile costs around $1 million each. The U.S. Navy has been working with lasers for some time now and even experimentally deployed them on warships. These systems, as of now, are only capable of taking out relatively easy targets, like small boats, and that too at short ranges. U.S. Army also seems to be very clear in its outlook when it comes to laser weapons. Lieutenant General L. Neil Thurgood stated, The time is now to get directed energy weapons to the battlefield. The Army recognizes the need for directed energy lasers as part of the Army's modernization plan. This is no longer a research effort or a demonstration effort. It's a strategic combat capability, and we're on the right path to get it in soldiers' hands. It remains to be seen how things pan out.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.